The first tribute shipment left Earth 6 months after the delegation returned. 3 cargo vessels filled with platinum, iridium, and other rare minerals mined from the asteroid belt. The Vorthak collectors barely acknowledged the delivery. They took the cargo and left without a word. To the galaxy, it looked like Earth had accepted its place. Just another primitive world paying for the privilege of survival. But deep in the shadows of the solar system, something else was happening. Dr. Yuna stood in a laboratory that didn't officially exist. Built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the belt, the facility was one of dozens hidden throughout the solar system. Only a handful of people knew about the Human Initiative for Advanced Defense, and even fewer knew what they were really building. "Show me the test results," she said to her assistant. The holographic display lit up with data. Numbers and graphs that would have seemed like magic to most humans just a few years ago. But Yuna understood every line, every calculation. She had spent the last 3 years studying every piece of alien technology the Vorthak had carelessly shared, breaking it down to its basic components, learning how it worked. "The quantum entanglement drive is stable," her assistant reported. "We can maintain a connection across 300,000 kilometers without any signal loss." Yuna smiled. The Vorthak thought their technology was beyond human understanding. They were wrong. Humans were excellent at one thing above all others: learning from their enemies. On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, another secret facility hummed with activity. Commander Nari walked through rows of construction bays where shapes were beginning to take form. They didn't look like the clunky chemical rockets that Earth still launched publicly. These vessels were sleek, elegant, and deadly. "How many can we build before the deadline?" she asked the chief engineer. "If we push the quantum fabricators to maximum capacity, maybe 200 combat-ready ships, but they'll be unlike anything the galaxy has seen." Nari ran her hand along the hull of the nearest vessel. The metal felt warm, almost alive. Adaptive armor, capable of shifting its molecular structure to absorb different types of weapons fire. Another gift from studying alien technology, improved by human innovation. 200 ships against the Vorthak's thousands," she said quietly. "It will have to be enough." "Quality over quantity," the engineer replied. "That's always been humanity's advantage." While the military prepared in secret, humanity's public face remained humble and subservient. Earth continued to launch primitive rockets, continued to struggle with basic fusion technology, continued to look weak and harmless. Diplomat Soman played her role perfectly. She traveled to various alien worlds, attending minor trade conferences and cultural exchanges. She smiled, asked simple questions, and made friends with other client species. Everyone thought she was just a friendly human, eager to learn about the galaxy. No one suspected she was Earth's most effective intelligence operative. In a cafe on the trade world of Nexus 7, Soman sat across from a Krellian merchant. The insect-like alien clicked its mandibles nervously as it spoke. "The Vorthak demand more tribute from my world every cycle," the Krellian said. "Soon, we will have nothing left. They bleed us dry." Soman nodded sympathetically. "Earth understands. We pay our tribute as well. Tell me, how does the Vorthak military maintain control over so many worlds?" "Fear, mostly," the Krellian replied. "They have not fought a real war in 3,000 cycles. They simply show up with their fleets, and worlds surrender." This information was gold. Soman filed it away with the hundreds of other details she had collected. 3,000 years without a real war. The Vorthak military was powerful, but it was untested. They relied on intimidation, not combat experience. Back on Earth, Ambassador Taiho received her reports. He sat in his office, reading through the intelligence data, building a picture of the Vorthak Empire piece by piece. Their fleet formations, their communication protocols, their weapons technology, their weaknesses. "They are overconfident," he told Jinwoo during one of their secret meetings. "They believe their technology makes them invincible, but technology is only as good as the people using it." Jinwoo nodded. He had been promoted to admiral, though his title meant nothing outside the secret military structure. "Our people are ready. The silent fleet grows stronger every day." And Dr. Yuna's research? Progressing ahead of schedule. She believes we'll have working graviton pulse weapons within 2 cycles. Tejo permitted himself a small smile. The Vorthak gave us 20 cycles. We only needed 15. The years passed. Earth continued to pay tribute, continued to seem harmless. But deep in the Kuiper Belt, weapons testing lit up the darkness. On Mars, underground cities grew, preparing to house humanity's military command structure. In the asteroid belt, factories worked around the clock, building the tools of war. Dr. Yuna made breakthrough after breakthrough. The quantum drives worked. The graviton weapons worked. The adaptive armor worked. Every piece of alien technology that the Vorthak thought was beyond human understanding became another weapon in Earth's arsenal. How did we advance so quickly? Kang asked one day. He was no longer just an engineer, but a ship designer, creating vessels that combined human innovation with alien technology. Yuna looked up from her work. Because the Vorthak made a mistake. They assumed that because we were primitive, we were stupid. They are not the same thing. Humans have always been excellent at taking existing technology and improving it. We didn't invent fire, but we used it to forge steel. We didn't invent electricity, but we used it to build computers. The Vorthak showed us their technology, expecting us to be amazed. Instead, we learned, adapted, and improved. On the Moon, humanity's first true defensive fortress took shape. From Earth, it looked like nothing had changed. But hidden beneath the surface, weapons platforms and shield generators waited. The Moon had become the first line of defense for humanity's homeworld. Commander Nari oversaw the installation of the last defensive grid. If the Vorthak come, they'll find out we're not as helpless as they think. When they come, Jinwoo corrected. Not if, when. As the 20th cycle approached, Tejo prepared his final move. He sent a message to the Galactic Council, requesting an audience to renegotiate Earth's tribute terms. The message was polite, almost apologetic. It asked for reduced tribute, citing economic hardship. When Thoraxis read the message, he laughed so hard his subordinates thought he might injure himself. "The humans want to negotiate?" he roared. "After 20 cycles of generosity, they dare to ask for less tribute? I will teach them what happens to client species who forget their place." He assembled the Third Fleet. 50 dreadnoughts, each one capable of destroying a city from orbit. More than enough to remind Earth of its position in the galactic order. The fleet would arrive in the Sol system, demonstrate overwhelming force, and Earth would submit. Simple, effective, the way the Vorthak always handled rebellious clients. On Earth, sensors detected the fleet the moment it entered the outer solar system. Alarms rang in the hidden command centers. Operators rushed to their stations. The moment they had prepared for was finally here. Admiral Jinwoo stood in the command center buried deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, holographic displays showed the approaching Vorthak fleet. 50 ships, each one a monster of war. Exactly what they had expected. "All defensive positions report status," he ordered. One by one the responses came back. The Moon's defensive grid was online. Mars's orbital platforms were ready. The silent fleet was in position, cloaked and waiting. Every weapon, every ship, every soldier that humanity had built over 20 cycles was ready. Dr. Yuna appeared on a communication screen. "Admiral, the Prometheus array is online. We can activate on your command." Jinwoo nodded. The Prometheus array was humanity's secret weapon, the culmination of 20 cycles of research. A network of quantum-linked platforms throughout the solar system, capable of manipulating gravitational fields on a massive scale. Technology that shouldn't exist, built by a species that wasn't supposed to be capable of such things. Taiho stood beside Jinwoo, watching the approaching fleet. "Are you ready to keep our promise?" "We promise to prove ourselves worthy," Jinwoo replied. "That promise will be kept, one way or another." The Vorthok Third Fleet crossed into the inner solar system, weapons charged, shields raised, ready to teach humanity a lesson. They expected fear. They expected immediate surrender. They expected to confirm what they already knew, that humans were weak, primitive, and utterly beneath them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The stars looked different from this far away from home. Captain Jinwoo stood at the viewport of the small human transport ship, watching the massive alien station grow larger in the distance. Nexus Prime, they called it, the heart of the Galactic Council, a structure so large it could swallow Earth's moon 3 times over. "We're being scanned again," said Engineer Kang from his station. The young man's hands moved nervously over the controls. "Fourth time since we entered their space." "Let them scan," Ambassador Tejo said calmly. The older diplomat sat in the command chair, his face showing no emotion. "They want to know what we are. Let them look." Dr. Hana adjusted her glasses and studied the readings on her screen. As Earth's chief scientist for this mission, she had prepared for this moment for years. Still, seeing the alien technology in person made her heart race. Their energy signatures are incredible. That station generates more power than our entire planet. Jinwoo turned away from the viewport. "That's exactly why we're here. To show them we belong among the stars, even if we're smaller." The communication system crackled to life. A harsh, grinding voice filled the cabin. "Human vessel, you will dock at port 73. You will disembark alone. Your weapons will remain on your ship. You will follow all instructions. Any deviation will result in immediate destruction." Taiho pressed the response button. "We understand. Humanity thanks the Council for this opportunity." The alien voice laughed. It was not a friendly sound. "Opportunity, yes? That is one word for it." The docking process took an hour. Their small ship looked like a toy next to the massive alien vessels parked around them. Sleek warships from a dozen different species, each one bristling with weapons that could crack a planet. Jinwoo counted at least 20 different ship designs, each more advanced than anything humans had ever built. When they finally stepped off their ship, the difference became even more obvious. The docking bay stretched in every direction, so large that clouds formed near the ceiling. Thousands of aliens moved through the space, conducting business, loading cargo, or simply traveling through. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated, crawled, or moved in ways that hurt to look at. A tall creature approached them. It stood nearly 3 meters high, with gray skin like stone and 4 arms ending in sharp claws. Its eyes glowed red in the dim light. "I am Thraxis, High Commander of the Vorthak Empire. I will escort you to the council chamber." "We are honored," Taiho said, bowing slightly. Thraxis made a sound that might have been laughter. "Honor? Such a human concept." He turned and walked away, expecting them to follow. They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Aliens of all shapes and sizes stopped to stare at the humans. Some pointed, others made sounds that were probably laughter. Jinwoo felt like an animal in a zoo, being examined by curious visitors. "They think we're primitive," Hana whispered. "They are correct," Taiho replied quietly. "By their standards, we are. Our fusion reactors are toys compared to their antimatter cores. Our fastest ships take months to cross our solar system. They cross galaxies in days." "Then why are we here?" Kang asked. "Because being primitive today does not mean being primitive forever," Jinwoo said. The council chamber was even more impressive than the docking bay. A massive spherical room where representatives from hundreds of species sat in floating seats arranged in circles. At the center, a holographic display showed star maps and data streams that Hana couldn't begin to understand. Thraxis led them to a small platform at the bottom of the sphere. "Wait here. Speak only when addressed. Do not waste the council's time." The human delegation stood on their platform while alien eyes studied them from every direction. Jinwoo felt sweat running down his back despite the cool air. These beings controlled thousands of worlds. They commanded technology that seemed like magic. And here stood 4 humans in simple uniforms, representing a species that had barely learned to leave their own planet. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. "The Council recognizes the presence of the human delegation from the planet Earth." Taiho stepped forward. "Great Council, we come in peace. We seek only the chance to trade, to learn, and to prove ourselves worthy of joining the galactic community." Silence filled the chamber. Then, slowly, the aliens began to laugh. Not all of them, but enough. The sound rolled through the sphere like thunder. "Worthy?" Thraxus spoke from his floating seat high above. You travel in chemical rockets. You fight with metal bullets. You have not even colonized your neighboring planet successfully. What could you possibly offer the Council? Hana felt anger rising in her chest, but Taiho raised his hand slightly, a signal to stay calm. We offer determination, Taiho said. We offer innovation. We offer the promise that humanity will surprise you, given the chance. Another alien spoke, this one covered in blue scales with a voice like wind through trees. The Council has heard such promises before. Young species always believe they are special. Most fade into obscurity. Some destroy themselves. Very few ever matter. Then give us 20 cycles to prove ourselves, Taiho said. 20 standard galactic cycles. Allow us trade rights and peaceful coexistence. If we have not proven our worth by then, we will accept whatever judgment the Council declares. Thraxus leaned forward in his seat. And what will you give us during these 20 cycles? The Council does not grant favors freely. We will provide tribute, Taiho said. Rare minerals from our asteroid belt. Biological samples from our diverse ecosystem. Cultural artifacts from our civilization. Whatever the Council deems appropriate. The aliens talked among themselves. Jinwoo could see them gesturing, their various limbs moving in what were probably arguments. Finally, Thraxus raised one of his forearms, and silence fell. The Council finds this amusing. We will grant Earth provisional client species status, the lowest rank. You will pay tribute as stated. You will follow all Council laws. You will not travel beyond your solar system without permission. In 20 cycles, we will decide if you have earned the right to continue existing under our protection. The way he said protection made it clear what he really meant. Slavery? Servitude? Humanity would become another species crushed under the weight of the Vorthak Empire's power. Taiho bowed deeply. The Council's generosity knows no bounds. Humanity accepts these terms. As they left the chamber, Kang looked at Taiho with worry in his eyes. We just agreed to become their servants. We agreed to 20 cycles, Jinwoo said quietly. A lot can happen in 20 cycles. Back on their ship as they prepared to return to Earth, Hana noticed Taiho staring at the star maps. What are you thinking about? I am thinking about promises, the old diplomat said. I promised them we would prove ourselves worthy. That is a promise humanity will keep. And if they still reject us after 20 cycles? Taiho's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in his eyes. Then they will learn that humanity keeps all of its promises, not just the ones spoken aloud in council chambers. Their small ship left Nexus Prime and began the long journey home. Behind them, the massive alien station continued its business, its inhabitants already forgetting about the primitive humans who had visited. They were just another minor species, another client race to be exploited and controlled. They didn't fear Earth. That was their first mistake. It would also be their last. The Vorthak Third Fleet emerged from quantum transit expecting to find a frightened world. Instead, High Commander Thraxus stared at his displays in confusion. Earth's moon looked different. Structures dotted its surface that hadn't been there in the intelligence reports. Mars was surrounded by orbital platforms that gleamed in the sunlight. And something else lurked in the outer system, something his sensors couldn't quite identify. Scan those installations, he ordered his tactical officer. Trying, Commander. The readings are inconsistent. Heavy interference. Thraxus growled. Impossible. Human technology can barely reach their own moon. They cannot possibly jam Vorthak sensors. But the evidence was right there on his screens. Something was very wrong. A communication request came through. Thraxus accepted it, expecting to hear the frightened pleading of human leaders. Instead, a calm voice spoke in perfect Vorthak. High Commander Thraxus, this is Admiral Jinwoo of the Earth Defense Force. The Vorthak Empire demanded tribute for 20 cycles. We paid it. You demanded we prove ourselves worthy of joining the galactic community. We have. I ask you now, as one military commander to another, will the Council recognize Earth as an equal partner, or must we demonstrate our worth in ways that will cost both our peoples dearly? Thraxus felt his blood heat. You dare threaten the Vorthak Empire? Your primitive vessels are no match for our fleet. Surrender now, and we will show mercy. I'm afraid you misunderstand, Jinwu replied. That wasn't a threat. It was a final courtesy. We are giving you a chance to leave peacefully. Thraxis cut the transmission. All ships, attack formation. Target the planetary defensive installations. Show these humans the price of arrogance. The Third Fleet moved forward, 50 dreadnoughts spreading into attack formation. Their weapons charged, building energy that could crack a planet's crust. Thraxis watched his tactical display with satisfaction. This would be over in minutes. Then something impossible happened. The space around the fleet rippled. From nowhere, ships appeared. Hundreds of them. Sleek vessels that seemed to materialize from nothing, their hulls black as space itself. They moved with a grace that made Thraxis's dreadnoughts look clumsy by comparison. "Where did those come from?" he shouted. "Unknown, Commander. They just appeared on our sensors." No quantum transit signatures, no engine trails. It's as if they were hiding in plain sight. The human ships didn't wait. They attacked with a precision that Thraxis had never seen before. Beams of concentrated gravitational energy lanced out, striking the Vorthak shields. The shields held for a moment, then shattered like glass. "Impossible!" Thraxis roared. "Our shields are designed to withstand any known weapon." His tactical officer's voice was shaking. "Commander, those aren't any known weapons. The energy signatures don't match anything in our database." The battle turned into chaos. The Vorthak ships fired back, but the human vessels moved too quickly. They dodged between the slower dreadnoughts, targeting weapon systems and engines with surgical precision. Every shot the humans fired hit its mark. Every shot the Vorthak fired seemed to miss. Commander Nari sat in the command chair of the Silent Fleet flagship, watching the battle unfold exactly as they had planned. 20 cycles of preparation were paying off. The Vorthak ships were powerful but predictable. Their formations were textbook perfect, which meant they were easy to counter once you knew what to expect. "Target their command ship," she ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. We want prisoners, not corpses." Captain Jinwu commanded the flagship Indomitable, and he felt a fierce pride watching his crew work. These were humans who had trained for 20 cycles for this moment. They knew every weak point in Vorthak ship design. They had studied every battle the Vorthak had ever fought. They were ready. "Fire Graviton Pulse, full spread," he commanded. The Indomitable's main weapons unleashed a barrage that rippled through space itself. The gravitational waves struck Thraxis's command ship, and its shields collapsed completely. Secondary explosions ripped through the dreadnought's weapon systems, leaving it defenseless but intact. On the Vorthak command ship, alarms screamed. Thraxis watched in horror as his fleet fell apart around him. Already 30 ships were disabled, their engines dead, their weapons offline. And they hadn't destroyed a single human vessel. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "They were primitive. They used chemical rockets. They fought with bullets." His communication officer spoke quietly. "Commander, we're receiving another transmission from the humans." Jinwu's face appeared on the screen again. His expression was calm, almost sad. "Hi, Commander. Your fleet is defeated. We have disabled 30 of your ships without killing a single crew member. We can continue this battle and destroy your entire fleet, or you can order your remaining vessels to stand down. The choice is yours." Thraxis felt something he had never experienced in 3,000 cycles of service. Fear. Real, genuine fear. The humans had beaten him completely. They had technology that shouldn't exist. They had tactics that made his own forces look like children playing war games. And they had done it all while deliberately avoiding casualties. That last part terrified him most. If the humans could disable his fleet without killing anyone, it meant they had complete control of the battle. They were choosing mercy, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. That spoke of a confidence that made his blood run cold. "What are you?" he asked quietly. Jinwu seemed to consider the question. "We are humanity, Commander. We are the species you dismissed as primitive. The species you forced to pay tribute for 20 cycles. The species you thought was beneath your notice." He leaned forward slightly. We are also the species that keeps its promises. We promised to prove ourselves worthy. This is our proof. Behind Jinwoo, other humans worked at their stations with calm efficiency. No panic, no excitement. Just professionals doing a job they had trained for. Thraxis realized with growing horror that this wasn't even difficult for them. They were fighting 50 dreadnoughts and making it look easy. If I surrender, Thraxis said slowly, what happens to my people? Your crews will be treated with respect, Jinwoo replied. Your wounded will receive medical care. Your ships will be returned once we have removed the weapon systems. And you will carry a message back to the Galactic Council. What message? That Earth is no longer a client species. We are an independent power. We seek peace and partnership with the Council, but we will defend ourselves against aggression. What happened here today can happen anywhere. Tell them that. Thraxis looked at his tactical display one more time. 40 ships disabled now. His fleet was broken. But more than that, his pride was broken. The Vorthak Empire had ruled the galaxy for millennia through the belief that they were superior. In 1 hour, 4 humans had shattered that belief completely. All ships, he said quietly, stand down, lower shields, and power down weapons. The battle ended as quickly as it had begun. The human ships stopped firing immediately. They formed a defensive perimeter around the disabled Vorthak vessels, but they didn't press their advantage. They had won, and they knew it. Back on Earth in the command center, Taiho watched the conclusion of the battle with satisfaction. Around him, men and women cheered. 20 cycles of work, 20 cycles of sacrifice, 20 cycles of pretending to be weak while building strength in secret. All of it had paid off. Dr. Yuna appeared on the communication screen, her face tired but happy. The Prometheus array performed perfectly. We can manipulate gravitational fields across the entire solar system now. Good, Taiho replied. We may need it again. Jinwoo ordered the rescue operations to begin. Human ships moved alongside disabled Vorthak vessels, offering medical assistance and repairs to damaged life support systems. The same ships that had been weapons of war minutes ago now became rescue vessels. A Vorthak officer contacted the Indomitable, his voice confused. Why are you helping us? We came to conquer you. The human medic who responded just smiled. Because that's what decent people do. We fought you because we had to. Now the fighting is done, so we help you because we can. The Vorthak officer had no response to that. As the Third Fleet prepared to limp back to Vorthak space, Thraxis sent one final transmission to Jinwoo. You could have destroyed us. Why didn't you? Jinwoo's answer was simple. Because we are not conquerors, Commander. We are defenders. We fight to protect, not to destroy. Remember that when you speak to the Council. The Vorthak ships engaged their quantum drives and vanished, leaving the Sol system behind. They carried with them a new truth. Earth was no longer weak. Humanity was no longer primitive. And the galaxy would never be the same again. News of the Vorthak defeat spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On 1,000 worlds, client species whispered in amazement. The mighty Vorthak Empire, rulers of the galaxy for millennia, had been humiliated by a species they considered primitive. It seemed impossible, yet the evidence was undeniable. Thraxis himself had confirmed it in his official report. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session within days. The massive chamber buzzed with arguments and accusations. Representatives from hundreds of species shouted over each other, their voices creating a chaos that the chamber had rarely seen. Thraxis stood in the center of the sphere, his shame visible for all to see. The human fleet was beyond anything we expected. Their technology surpasses our own in several key areas. Their tactics were flawless. They defeated 50 dreadnoughts without destroying a single ship. This was not luck. This was preparation. Another Vorthak commander slammed his clawed hand against his console. Then we send more ships. We send the entire fleet. We crush this upstart species before they become a real threat. And if we lose, asked a blue-scaled delegate from the Kellian Confederacy. If Earth can defeat 50 dreadnoughts, what makes you think 500 would fare better? Perhaps it is time to admit that the humans have earned their place? Never, roared several Vorthak representatives at once. But other voices joined the Kellyan delegate. Client species who had suffered under Vorthak rule for centuries saw an opportunity. If Earth could stand up to the Empire, perhaps they could too. The debate raged for hours. Finally, the council speaker called for order. We will vote on 3 proposals. First, immediate military action against Earth. Second, diplomatic recognition as an independent power. Third, a fact-finding delegation to learn the truth about human capabilities. All in favor of immediate military action? Less than half the council voted yes. The Vorthak looked around in shock. For the first time in living memory, they didn't have the votes to enforce their will. While the council argued, a simple request came through official channels. Dr. Hana wished to address the council. The request was so polite, so humble, that the speaker granted it without much thought. After all, what harm could one human scientist do? That was their second mistake. Dr. Hana arrived at Nexus Prime 3 days later. She came alone, carrying only a data storage device and a warm smile. The council representatives who remembered her from 20 cycles ago found her unchanged. Still wearing her simple glasses, still looking more like a teacher than a threat. She stood on the same platform where Ambassador Tejo had made humanity's first promises. The same platform where the galaxy had laughed at Earth's primitive nature. But this time, no one was laughing. Honored Council, Hana began, I come today not to threaten, but to educate. You have questions about how humanity achieved such rapid technological advancement. I am here to answer those questions. She activated the data device, and holographic displays filled the chamber. Detailed schematics of Vorthak ships, Kellyan energy systems, Grendok shield technology. Every major technology in use by the Council was there, broken down to its fundamental components. For 50 years before our first contact with the Council, humanity observed you, Hana explained calmly. We monitored your communications. We studied your ships from a distance. We analyzed every piece of data we could gather. When Ambassador Taiho promised we would prove ourselves worthy in 20 cycles, we already knew exactly what we needed to do. The chamber fell completely silent. The implications of her words were staggering. You spied on us? Thraxus said, his voice barely a whisper. We observed, Hana corrected gently. There is a difference. You were not hiding. Your communications were not encrypted against anyone who knew how to listen. Your ships broadcast their presence proudly. You never imagined that a primitive species could be watching and learning. She manipulated the hologram, showing the progression of human technology. Every piece of alien technology you shared with us, we reverse-engineered. Every weakness in your designs we cataloged. Every tactical pattern you used in your historical conflicts, we studied. You called us primitive, but we were never stupid. We simply lacked knowledge. Once we had that knowledge, human innovation did the rest. A representative from the Krellian Merchant Guild spoke up. But the graviton pulse weapons, the quantum stealth systems, these technologies are theoretical even for us. How did you develop them? Hana smiled. Because we didn't try to copy your technology exactly. We understood the principles, then found better ways to apply them. You use quantum entanglement for communication. We use it for stealth and faster-than-light travel. You use gravitational manipulation for mining. We use it for weapons and propulsion. Innovation isn't about copying. It's about understanding and improving. The truth was settling over the council like a heavy blanket. Earth hadn't just gotten lucky. They hadn't stumbled onto some ancient alien technology. They had systematically studied, learned, and surpassed the galaxy's best technology through pure human ingenuity. Then, Soman stepped forward, and several representatives gasped in recognition. The friendly diplomat who had attended their conferences. The kind human who had asked so many innocent questions. Hello, Council, Soman said warmly. Many of you know me. We've shared meals, attended cultural events, discussed trade agreements. I want you to know that my friendships were real. I genuinely liked most of you. That didn't change my mission. She pulled up another holographic display. For 15 cycles, I traveled across council space. I befriended marginalized species. I learned about Vorthak military doctrine from officers who thought I was too simple to understand. I discovered tactical weaknesses in defense grids while admiring architecture. Every conversation, every friendship, every cultural exchange taught me something valuable about the galaxy and its power structures. Thraxis stood up, his forearms trembling. You used us, all of you. You pretended to be weak while you gathered intelligence. We survived, Jinwoo's voice came through the chamber's communication system. He was addressing the council from Earth. When you are weak, you have two choices: submit or become strong. We chose to become strong, but we did it intelligently. We studied our potential enemies. We prepared for every possibility. And yes, we pretended to be weaker than we were, because that gave us the time we needed. Ambassador Taiho appeared beside Jinwoo on the holographic display. The old diplomat looked exactly as he had 20 cycles ago, calm and collected. I made humanity a promise in this very chamber. I promised we would prove ourselves worthy. That promise has been kept. But I also made a promise to my own people, a promise the Council never heard, that we would ensure Earth's survival no matter the cost. The Council representatives looked at each other nervously. Some felt betrayed, others felt respect. But all of them felt the same thing: uncertainty. For millennia, the Vorthak had provided stability through dominance. Now that dominance was challenged, and no one knew what would happen next. What do you want? The council speaker asked finally. Taiho's answer was simple: partnership. We want Earth recognized as an independent power. We want fair trade agreements. We want representation in the council as equals, not clients. We don't seek to conquer or control. We seek respect. And if we refuse? A Vorthak commander demanded. Soman answered that question. Then, the 50 species I befriended over the past 15 cycles will hear about everything I learned. They will know about Vorthak corruption, about unfair tribute demands, about military weaknesses, about every dark secret the Empire has tried to hide. Information is power, Commander. And I have more information than you can imagine. It wasn't a threat. It was a fact, and everyone in the chamber knew it. But the Vorthak Empire wasn't ready to accept defeat so easily. Pride ran deep in their culture. The High Command convened in secret, and they made a decision that would determine the fate of the galaxy. They would assemble every available warship, every dreadnought, every cruiser, every fighter. 2,000 vessels strong, the largest military force in galactic history. They would go to Earth not for a battle, but for complete annihilation. They would make an example of humanity that would ensure no species ever challenged Vorthak authority again. When word of the Armada's assembly reached Earth, no one panicked. They had planned for this too. Admiral Jinwoo stood in the command center, looking at the massive fleet forming in the Vorthak space. So they chose war. We gave them every chance to choose peace, Taiho replied. Some lessons can only be learned through pain. Dr. Yuna activated the final protocols for the Prometheus array. All systems are ready. If they come to our home, they'll learn why you don't threaten a species that has spent 20 cycles preparing for this exact moment. The Vorthak Armada entered quantum transit, headed for Earth. 2,000 ships carrying enough firepower to sterilize a dozen planets. The Empire's full might, unleashed against one small blue world. They believed they would crush humanity and restore their dominance. They were about to learn their final, most terrible lesson. The Vorthak Armada emerged from quantum transit at the edge of the Sol system like a plague of metal locusts. 2,000 warships, their engines burning bright enough to be seen from Earth with the naked eye. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history, and it had one purpose: to erase humanity from existence. High Commander Thraxis commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Pride of Vorthak. Around him, hundreds of officers monitored displays showing the perfect formation of ships. No retreat was planned, no mercy would be given. This time, Earth would burn. Scan the system, he ordered. I want to know the position of every human ship. His tactical officer worked the controls, then froze. Commander, Our sensors are showing the entire human fleet in orbit around Earth. They're not hiding. They're waiting for us. Thraxus looked at the display and felt his confidence waver slightly. The human ships floated in perfect formation, arranged in concentric circles around their home planet. It looked almost ceremonial, as if they were welcoming the Vorthak to their doom. "How many ships?" he asked. 217, Commander. The same fleet that defeated the Third Fleet, plus a few dozen more. 200 ships against 2,000. The math was absurd. Even with their advanced technology, the humans couldn't possibly win. Thraxus felt his confidence return. This would be a slaughter. Admiral Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the Vorthak fleet approach. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. No panic, no fear. Just professionals who knew exactly what they had to do. "Open a channel to the Vorthak flagship," he ordered. Thraxus's face appeared on the screen, his expression full of rage. "You have one chance, human. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick." "I'm afraid I must decline," Jinwoo replied calmly. "Instead, I offer you the same choice I gave you 20 cycles ago. Leave peacefully, or learn why threatening humanity's home is the worst mistake you could make." "Your arrogance will die with you," Thraxus snarled. "You defeated 50 ships through trickery. Against 2,000, your tricks mean nothing. All ships, advance. Show these primitives the price of defiance." The Vorthak armada surged forward, a wall of metal and destruction accelerating toward Earth. Their weapons charged, building energy that could crack a planet's crust. This wasn't going to be a battle. It would be an execution. Then Jinwoo spoke 3 words that would echo through galactic history. "Activate Prometheus Array." All across the Sol system, hidden platforms came online. On the Moon, beneath the surface of Mars, in the asteroid belt, in the rings of Saturn, throughout the Kuiper belt. Hundreds of quantum-linked nodes working as one massive system, all focused on a single purpose: controlling gravity itself. The Vorthak fleet was halfway to Earth when the impossible happened. The fabric of space itself began to ripple. Gravitational waves, carefully controlled and directed, washed over the advancing ships. Engines stuttered. Navigation systems went haywire. The perfect formation collapsed into chaos as each ship suddenly found itself fighting against forces they couldn't understand. "What's happening?" Thraxus shouted as his ship lurched sideways. "Unknown, Commander. Every ship is reporting engine failure. It's as if gravity itself is attacking us." Dr. Yuna watched the Prometheus Array's performance from her laboratory on the Moon. The system was working perfectly, creating localized gravitational distortions that disrupted the Vorthak engines without actually destroying them. It was surgical, precise, and completely overwhelming. "Increase power to Grid 7, she instructed her team. "Those cruisers on the left flank are still maintaining partial engine control." The adjustments took effect immediately. More Vorthak ships found their engines going dark, their weapon systems shorting out, their mighty vessels reduced to floating metal coffins. But the Vorthak had come prepared for a long battle. They had redundant systems, backup power cores, emergency protocols. Some ships managed to keep fighting. They fired their weapons at Earth, launching enough firepower to destroy a dozen planets. The Silent Fleet moved to intercept. Commander Nari had positioned her ships perfectly. As the Vorthak weapons fire approached Earth, the human vessels unleashed a defensive barrage that shredded the incoming attacks. Graviton pulse weapons, designed specifically to counter Vorthak technology, destroyed missiles and deflected energy beams. Not a single Vorthak shot reached Earth's atmosphere. "Impossible," Thraxus whispered. 200 ships cannot stop 2,000. It violates every tactical principle." His communication officer spoke quietly. "Commander, it's not just the ships. There are defensive platforms hidden throughout the system. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. We're not fighting 200 human vessels. We're fighting the entire solar system." The truth crashed over Thraxus like a cold wave. Humanity hadn't just built a fleet. They had turned their entire home system into a weapon. Every moon, every asteroid, every piece of space debris could potentially hide a defensive platform. Earth wasn't a planet anymore, it was a fortress. Captain Jinwoo watched the battle unfold exactly as planned. 20 cycles of preparation. 20 cycles of building, testing, improving. The Vorthak had numbers, but humanity had turned their home into an impregnable defense. Target their command ship, he ordered. Disable engines and weapons, but keep life support intact. The Indomitable's weapons blazed to life. Graviton beams, focused with perfect precision, struck the pride of Vorthak. The flagship's shields, designed to withstand conventional weapons, shattered under the assault. Secondary explosions rippled through the weapons arrays. The mighty dreadnought went dark, its engine core offline, its weapons destroyed. Thraxus felt his ship die around him. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting everything in red. His officers shouted reports of damage, but he barely heard them. His entire fleet, the pride of the Vorthak Empire, was being systematically dismantled by a species they had called primitive. A transmission came through on emergency frequencies. Jinwoo's face appeared on the screen, and his expression was sad. "Hi, Commander. This can end now. Order your ships to stand down. You've lost. There's no shame in admitting it, but if you continue this attack, we will have no choice but to destroy your entire fleet." "I don't want that. I suspect you don't either." Thraxus looked at his tactical display. Over 1,000 ships were already disabled. The rest were scattered, confused, fighting an enemy they couldn't effectively engage. His mighty armada had been reduced to helpless targets in less than an hour. "How?" he asked quietly. "How did you become so powerful?" Jinwoo's answer was simple. "We prepared. When you gave us 20 cycles to prove ourselves, we used every single day. We built. We learned. We innovated. We turned our home system into something that cannot be conquered. Because we understood something you never did. A species doesn't need to be the strongest to survive. They need to be too dangerous to attack." "We outnumber you 10 to 1, Thraxus said desperately. "And yet we're winning," Jinwoo replied. "Numbers mean nothing against proper preparation. You came to our home, Commander. You threatened our planet, our families, our future. We had 20 cycles to prepare for this exact moment. Did you really think we would waste that time?" Thraxus knew he had lost. Not just the battle, but everything. The Vorthak Empire's reputation was destroyed. Their military superiority was a lie. Their dominance over the galaxy was finished. All because they had underestimated 4 humans standing on a platform 20 cycles ago. "If I surrender, what happens to the Empire?" "That's for the Galactic Council to decide," Jinwoo answered. "But I can tell you what humanity wants. We don't seek conquest. We don't want to rule over others. We want peace, but we want it as equals. The client species system ends. The tribute system ends. Every species in the galaxy gets a voice in the council, including the Vorthak. You would give us a voice after we tried to destroy you?" "Of course. We're not interested in revenge, Commander. We're interested in building a better galaxy, one where species work together instead of conquering each other." Thraxus looked around his ruined bridge. His officers watched him, waiting for the order. He thought about his people, about the empire that had ruled for millennia. Pride was a powerful thing, but survival was more important. "All ships," he said quietly, "stand down. Lower shields and power down weapons. The battle is over." Across the Sol system, 2,000 Vorthak ships went dark. The largest fleet in galactic history, defeated without a single human casualty. On Earth, people emerged from their shelters and looked up at the sky. The battle had been broadcast live across the planet. Everyone had watched as humanity's defenders turned back an army that should have been unstoppable. Celebrations erupted in every city. But in the command center, Taiho watched the disabled Vorthak fleet with no joy on his face. "Begin rescue operations. Send medical teams to any ships with casualties. We promise to prove ourselves worthy. Mercy and victory proves that more than destroying our enemies." The human fleet moved among the disabled Vorthak vessels, offering aid and assistance. Medical teams treated wounded aliens. Engineers helped repair damaged life support systems. The same species that had just won the battle now worked to save their defeated enemies. A Vorthak officer, watching human medics save his injured crew, contacted the Indomitable. Why do you help us? We came to kill you. The human medic smiled. Because the battle is over. Now we take care of each other. That's what civilization means. The Galactic Council convened once more, and this time there was no debate. Earth was recognized as an independent power with full voting rights. The client species system was abolished. The tribute system ended. A new charter was written, one that recognized all species as equals. The Vorthak Empire was dissolved, its territories granted independence. Many became allies of Earth, grateful for humanity's mercy and victory. Ambassador Taiho addressed the new council, standing on the same platform where this had all begun. 20 cycles ago, I promised that humanity would prove itself worthy. That promise has been kept. Today, I make a new promise. Earth will work to build a galaxy where all species can thrive in peace. Where strength is measured not by conquest, but by cooperation. Where no species will ever again be dismissed or underestimated based on appearances. The Council, now truly representative of all its members, voted unanimously to accept Earth's leadership in building this new future. Years later, Dr. Yuna stood in her laboratory, training a new generation of scientists. Humans, Vorthak, Kellians, Krellians, all working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Remember, she told her students, technology is only as good as the wisdom to use it properly. We built weapons that could have destroyed our enemies. Instead, we built weapons that disabled and controlled. We chose to win without unnecessary death. That choice made all the difference. Commander Nari, now retired, wrote a book about the battle. Its final line became famous across the galaxy. They didn't fear Earth because they thought we were weak. They learned to respect Earth because we proved we were wise. And on a memorial on the moon, visible from Earth, a simple inscription. Here, humanity kept its promise.